And now at this time, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're ready. One of the main reasons we are all here this evening, the man who is going to take this already amazingly successful company to new great heights and beyond. Let's give a big Irish applause for your new CEO, Matt Irish Jones.
Thank you. It's a great honor to be here right now. My journey getting here, in a way, started when I was in college, receiving what I like to refer to as a classical education in philosophy. After 4 years of rigorous intellectual training, reading thousands of pages and many sleepless nights, writing papers, I was able to come to the philosophical conclusion that I was qualified for absolutely nothing. After working in various industries for a handful of years, I started reaching out to some of my old network to see if I could get into the private sector. One lady in particular whom I had a good relationship with, and I had known since birth, seemed willing to help me. Her name was Mom, or as my older brother likes to call her, Mommy. Although I was qualified for nothing, I had a good attitude and a great attendance record. So after conferring with Mom, I got a job at the propane plant. That is where I started learning all the most important lessons in life. I figured with my philosophical training, I was there to teach. Of course, the exact opposite turned out to be true. I had many great people I learned from there. Dave Collins, Anita Foss, John Giambardino, Scott Barkoyak, and Bob Hildebrand. I started to notice a trend with all these people. There were people that would stand up and show up. Stand up for what they believed in and show up for work. Now, 12 years later, the same people are still standing up and showing up at the propane plant. In addition to the people at the propane plant, 3 great leaders in particular were looking out for me, guiding me, coaching me, and most importantly, forgiving me when I screwed things up. At that point in my career, I was still young enough to know everything. Out of the many things I learned, the most important lesson was life and business are always about the people. Or as my mother would say, you are as good as your network. So of course, when we started to plan for this party, she refused a retirement party and insisted on a celebration of Irish party. Having personal insight into her career, her life, and insider knowledge on all the inner workings of Irish, I thought it would be appropriate to highlight the people that made the pillars of her career. The first pillar is my father, or as my older brother would call him, Daddy. Dad, can you give the crowd a wave? Thank you, Dad. Anyone that needed to know anything about my parents' marriage can deduce it from our last names. When Tim Jones had children with Lori Irish, their children became Irish Joneses. I was able to witness firsthand a marriage of equals. We saw 2 people who both had careers, both had hopes and dreams, and were still able to support each other. The question was never what is best for my career or your career. It was always what is best for our family and our careers. As my mother's career became more and more demanding and she would have to leave early, stay late, and travel, there was also a lot going on at home that needed attention. That is where I really started learning what is behind a successful marriage, and I saw my father stand up and show up. One time in particular, when my mother was out of town, I witnessed my dad, a traveling salesman, hit the road for a sales call 10 hours away. I'm assuming he made the sale. Dad, you made the sale, right? Yeah, he made the sale. After the sale, he turned around and drove 10 hours straight home. When he got home, we'd been hit by snow. So on no sleep, he went out and cleared the snow from the driveway. Early the next morning, he had to get up and make breakfast, pack bags, and get 4 kids to school. This is one example of many, and none of this ever equated to an excuse that he would miss one of our hockey games, soccer games, or any youth sporting event. The man always showed up. They say behind every great man is a great woman. Well, I can tell you firsthand, behind this great woman is a great man. Most importantly, my brothers and I learned firsthand how a real man treats a woman. The second pillar for my mother was one of her little sisters, Vicky. Vicky, can you give us a wave? Thank you, Vicky. When it comes to Vicky, we had a specific policy at the propane plant. I'm not sure if Anita and Mike remember. Anita, are you here? Do you remember the policy at the propane plant when it came to Vicky?
Just keep her
Well, the HR lady's here, so I'll excuse my French, but I think it was, you don't fuck with Vicky. You just don't do it. It's not a good career move. With Pam and Lori, there was always a little bit of back and forth. With Vicky, you don't mess around. At one point, when my little brother was working for the propane plant, the printer had gone down on the propane side. Anita and I played paper, scissors, rock to see who was going to call Vicky. After I lost, I pulled rank and made Mike Albrecht call her. Mike, Anita, and I said a prayer and tried to look busy before she came over. My little brother, who was a bit greener than the rest of us, explained that Vicky was a sweetheart and he would handle the entire situation. He knew Vicky as his aunt, but he didn't know business Vicky. I told him the policy at the propane plant, but he was just young enough to know everything. He told us when she walked in, he would make a joke about the printer being broken and show us all it was no big deal. Needless to say, when Vicky arrived, she and Brian locked eyes, and Brian immediately shrunk below his desk, put his head down, and picked up the phone to call a driver. Moments later, he was so nervous he actually hit the speaker button, and we all heard the dial tone on the other end of the phone. There's no shame in that, though, because we were all on imaginary phone calls when Vicky walked in. If Lori was the face of the company, and Pam is the backbone of the company, then Vicky is the brains. There's no one that has a better mastery of the numbers, a wider breadth of knowledge about all of the industries we service, accounting principles, and all joking aside, her intensity. She is a kind and thoughtful person first and a business person second. Vicky is a person that will definitely stand up and show up when you need her. On a personal note, she's been one of my great teachers and someone I've always looked up to because she does all of the hard stuff in business and in life. She's a true intellect and has been one of the great behind-the-scenes workers for this company and for this family for as long as I can remember. The next pillar is Lori's partner in crime. My brother and I would jokingly, mockingly, and with great admiration all at the same time refer to Lori and Pam as the dynamic duo. Which one was Batman and which one was Robin depended on the day. They have a complex relationship, business partners, CEO, COO, best friends, sisters, confidants, travel partners, and everything in between. To further complicate the relationship, they often acted in each other's roles as well. Many decisions Pam made were typical of a CEO, and many things Lori did were normally done by a COO. Between the two of them, it was always about getting the job done and never about who had what title. I was privy to see these two go to work all day, then get together on a Friday night, discuss the week's work, how to improve the business, and what they can do the following week. To describe Pam as being dedicated to the business would fall so short of her commitment that it would not be appropriate. However, we can certainly say she's one of the leaders of the pack when it comes to standing up for what she believes in and always showing up. I've personally seen her work through the night on spreadsheets, to go into work the next day and work another full day. We have all seen her drive through a snowstorm to attempt to make deliveries. She will never not answer her phone, and if someone in her life needs something, she'll be there. The Irish Joneses and the Irish Bronchies go way back. My children refer to Cousin Scott as Uncle Scott. Uncle Scott always has birthday presents and Christmas presents for my children and has gone out of his way on many separate occasions to look out for my family. My kids all think Kevin Bronchi is the coolest cat in the entire world. At one point I asked my son if I should grow a beard, and he told me not to bother because I won't look as cool as Kevin. I don't even know what that means. And of course, if you work at Irish, you all know about Henry. To highlight the way the Bronchi family operates, and Henry in particular, many years ago when my wife and I got our first apartment, we did not have much money. We had a mattress on the floor of our apartment, a TV on the floor, a table and 2 chairs. Our living room was bare and we could not afford a couch. Somehow this information got back to Henry, or Uncle Henry as I was always known him. Who do you think was knocking at our door days later, a coffee in hand, a large grin, and a couch that he was personally delivering in his pickup truck? Uncle Henry, of course. If you go back in Bronchi lore far enough, I'm sure the saying, people that will give you the shirt off their back, must have originated with the Bronchi family. The fourth pillar, or perhaps I should say, refer to them as the foundation, were my grandparents, Bob and Marcia Irish. I never worked with my grandfather personally, but I did visit my mom in the office on several different occasions. I was witness to what I would call an equal opportunity yeller. I can still hear his booming baritone voice echoing through the halls, It usually started with something along the lines of, "What do you mean, such and such?" At that point, you'd better know what the hell you meant. And of course, our still working full-time, sharp as a whip 94-year-old grandma, or Grandmarsh as we call her. I have no doubt that I am in trouble for talking about her age, but thankfully my mother did it earlier, so I guess we're both in the same boat. I'm sorry, Grandmarsh. If you have spent a few minutes with Grandmarsh, you understand where Pam's undying will stems from. We were brought up on mantras like, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Roll tide, never give up. If there's a will, there's a way. And if you're going to do something, do it for the right reason. My grandfather and grandmother started us all down the path of standing up and showing up. Although I'm sure my mom would be happy with me ending the speech here, recognizing her main support system, there are a few words I need to say about my personal and business relationship with my mother. My mom brought a secret weapon to business. It took a long time for me to figure out exactly what it was and how to articulate it. But after many years of thinking, and of course my philosophical training, I was able to figure it out. She brought something to the table that was not taught in business school. It's not even really talked about in business, nor is it in any handbook anywhere. It was the glue that kept the company together and the most important quality in a leader. The secret sauce of her leadership was kindness. Kindness when we're in the heat of battle, kindness for employees, kindness for customers, kindness for vendors, and amazingly, kindness for competitors, which is one I still don't really understand, but it was what helped us grow our staff, keep long-term employees, and keep people on the team. Kindness is usually the first thing to go when business gets tough and the pressure builds, but with her it wasn't. It was in her core, it was her greatest contribution to the company and our people, and it was the greatest lesson I learned. Of course, that does not mean kindness should be mistaken for weakness. It's quite the opposite. Kindness takes great strength. So as we look to the future, I don't know what products we'll be selling in 20 years or what areas we will cover, but I know what our morals are, I know what our values are, and as long as we protect those, we will be okay. We are the people that get out of bed in the morning. We are the people that go to work with a sore back or a sore throat. We are the people that show up during global pandemics, market crashes, and 6 feet of snow. We are the people that stand up and show up when every other business shuts down. So if everyone would join me in raising a glass, Mom, Lori, Mommy, we thank you for your service, we thank you for your kindness, and tonight we show up and we stand up for you. Thank you.
The company is definitely going to be in good hands with that man at the helm right there. Your new CEO, Mr. Matt Irish Jones, ladies and gentlemen.